do that. All right, here we go. We are here for another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I'm Dr. Paula Ruffin.
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody, and we're here every Thursday with all of you, and grateful to be here.
Absolutely. And I was just telling Dr. Erica that, you all know or may know by now that we have moved to our own channel, Chiropractic is Sexy. And yet, since I'm the production assistant to ourselves,
I just manager. You're definitely not
the production manager. We're streaming from my channel to Chiropractic is Sexy. We are not on Chiropractic is Sexy streaming from the channel. Small detail, but we will move this episode over onto there, so it will live there in eternity. But anyway, just a little, getting used to the new ways.
Yeah.
So, in today's show, we've named today's show The Real Cost of Healthcare, because our healthcare crisis is only getting worse. And part of the problem is we've got people who are really dependent on outside sources, let's just say their health insurance. And when you're relying on a large corporate entity who is really about profits over people, then it is not your best interest at hand. So I thought we could just come on here and have a conversation of what that looks like when you're relying too much on someone else or something else to cover expenses that are really your responsibility if you want to have good longevity and optimized health. So you want to springboard to that, Dr. Erica?
Yeah, and it's not even, I don't even think it's really like the insurance that's the issue in general. I think there's a broader picture of people are just not knowing how to take responsibility for their health in general. So I think it's not relying on somebody else to dictate it. It's about people coming to us all the time and saying, well, why am I having to seek out blah, 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 and this and that? Why didn't my MD share with me about this and that? Why has nutrition never come up? Why is this person or that person like not suggesting I go do this or that? And really it hasn't always been this way. We somehow got away from it in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but we are our own advocate. And it's always going to be like that. It's always, and now people are just realizing, oh, I have to actually seek out health for myself instead of having blind faith in whatever lotion, potion, whatever drug, whatever silver bullet. There's nothing out there like that that's actually going to do any of the work except for actually doing the work. So I think that's really where it comes down to now. Who pays for it? That's everybody individually. People have different kind of health spending accounts. People have saved their money. People are now realizing that their food choices and what they're paying for at the grocery store matters more than ever before. And that our grocery stores and markets and things like that, like unless we're seeking out really good quality places to buy our food, organic and farm as much as possible, that is also a humongous part of being an advocate for our health.
It's such a great point. And I think also when people are seeking things out, I do think some of it is the unknowing. Some of it is the, they just are not, they haven't been exposed to the information that you and I are bringing to people, which is, of course, why we're bringing this information here. And so we really want people to be educated about all of the different ways that you can improve and expand upon health. And I guess just very simply, I've talked about this before, cold plunging. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon of cold plunging. And if you are not and it doesn't matter what it is, carnivore diet, like pick a thing. Just because it's trendy doesn't mean it's going to be right for you, and doesn't mean that you have the building blocks inside of your body to support what you need for that thing. So if you're cold plunging every day, okay, that's great. That shows discipline. It is having some metabolic effect. But are you doing all the core pillars that we talk about? Sleep, hydration, movement, chiropractic, right? What else am I missing? Mindset,
Water.
Water, like all of it. So if you don't have the building blocks in your body to to support what it is that you're attempting to do, then that's where a lot of people will be like, oh, it didn't work, or why should I spend my money? But really, it just comes down to core principles. And of course, when we think about the real cost of healthcare, it's I think back in the 80s, and there was a Memorex commercial, if you guys remember cassette tapes. So I'm dating myself here. And it was a guy sitting in a chair, and he puts the cassette tape in the stereo, and he plays it super loud, and he's just like this super cool dude in this big leather chair, and the music blasts, and it's like, blasting his hair back. And the tagline is, is it live or is it Memorex? And so the whole point of that is like, are you going to be able to take the real information and implement it properly, or are you going to be duped by other things? So like what Dr. Erica was saying, like with the food industry, it's like, you've got to be able to know, is it real? Is it something that is of benefit to whatever the organization is that is putting things out there? And a lot of, again, these big corporations, including the insurance companies, don't have your best interest at hand. We have people, I'll talk about chiropractic audits. I have a friend of mine who got an insurance audit, and the insurance companies can come back and they can audit you for 5 years. And so what this looked like for my friend was they went through every claim from her previous 5 years, and they took back 21 cents, 32 cents, $1.04, all of these little random pennies. And over 5 years, it added up to almost $8,000 that she had to pay back. Now, is she going to go back to that patient and say, you owe me 27 cents? Doing that dozens and dozens of times to try to recoup her money? No. And so this often becomes a conversation about why in health, like true healthcare, not sick care, we're not talking about what your insurance benefits are there for if you truly get sick and if you have a crisis. That is, God forbid, what your insurance benefits are for. But your insurance benefits are not going to cover true long-term healthcare. And when you have entities like Dr. Erica and myself doing our best to take care of people, literally changing lives, you guys hear the stories that we're bringing to you. And then to be able to have somebody come and say, you're going to have to pay us $8,000 back because we didn't pay you properly. It's really a disconnect there. So you end up, the real cost of healthcare ultimately for you is downstream, and meaning that your health is going to suffer. You're going to have more chronic health issues, more autoimmune issues, God forbid cancer. We're seeing more of that. We're talking about it just in our age group of how much chronic disease, cancer, and even death we're seeing just in this 40 to 50 range at the moment. Like, it's terrible, and it shouldn't be like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's lifestyle based and choices and all of that. What I really love these days, though, is that some of the big corporations are actually incentivizing, whether that be they're incentivizing like paying for gym memberships, they're incentivizing, like they have lots of different things, like if you go and do this or you check in this many times, the big corporations are realizing that they're going to have to work differently in order to keep all that spending down. But ultimately it just all boils back down to, how is it that you really want to spend your hard-earned money? And this, for me, this isn't really about necessarily money spending, but it's about where we're putting our energy. There's ways where I'll even wake up in the morning and it's like, okay, I could get up and turn my sauna on and I could get in the sauna, or I could just lay here a little bit longer, or I could get up and I could go to the gym, or, all that stuff. And so every single day, one of the things that Dr. Paula and I do is just encourage people to choose this over that, whether it be for your food, like choose good oils over, the bad oils, choose this place to stop or this thing off the menu over that thing. Like it's constantly a choice of one thing over another. And it's, we're never perfect. It's never going to be totally, without fault, of course. However, it's like once we start to make a continual choice to get up and get moving over laying around, put your phone down and start reading over, go get adjusted over whatever, and being able to continually, one of the comments that we've talked about a lot in practice this week is the body keeps score. And so it keeps score of all the deposits we put in and then the things that we take away. I was thinking about even Super Bowl Sunday. Like Super Bowl Sunday is a late Sunday. It's a bunch of garbage and a bunch of alcohol, and then you're screwed on Monday morning, no matter how you play it. But it's something to think about.
I'm
like,
not, because I don't participate.
Well, we're just talking about a good portion of this country.
Yeah, of course.
But it's basically setting yourself up for a disaster. It would be way better to not have the whole event like that, and especially not on a Sunday night, because Monday's going to roll around and hit us smack in the face no matter what. So yeah, just something I was it's like the body's going to keep score of all the deposits and all the withdrawals, the transactions that we do.
take so many more withdrawals, don't we?
And I think lately.
Yeah. And I think it's such a great point about the whole body keeping score, and the conscious decision. So I want to break that down a little bit, because I think that's really important that people really listen to that. The conscious decision. It is your choice. Now, people are going to have cravings. They're going to have addictions. And ultimately, if you have an addiction, if you're addicted to smoking, vaping, food, whatever it is, you still have a decision to make that you're going to figure out a path out. So I'm not saying that path is easy, but it's still, you have to make the decision. And this is when I did detox with the doc a few weeks ago. I was telling everybody in my group, I said, listen, this is 10 days that I don't drink coffee. I'm not having alcohol. In fact, I think I went almost 3 weeks without alcohol. Whew, that was a doozy. But the whole goal is to let yourself know that your mind and your decisions are stronger than the thing that you think has power over you. And I actually had a patient come in, and she was doing the detox with the doc, and she said, that statement that you said, that I don't want things to have power over me. She goes, that was so strong. And she said, that's what I thought about. She said, that I've been thinking about. She goes, I can't get that out of my head, that I don't want this thing, this food, this drink, whatever it is, to have power over me. And she goes, that really helped me. So if it's something just as simple as that, like, think about that. What monkey is on your back that you need to make the decision about to be able to get off your back, so that your cost of healthcare overall goes down. You're not having to succumb to constant doctor's office visits, other than the chiropractor, hospitalization stays, co-pays, deductibles, and all medications. It just becomes a road of sickness. And so if you make those decisions today, then you can actually dramatically decrease the costs of your healthcare, true sick care over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was chatting with a patient. This is always my favorite phrase, is that, and this was a couple of years ago, but this guy came in because he wanted his health expectancy to match his life expectancy. And, it's basically every single day, the choices that we make are making us stronger or weaker. And one of the things I was listening to a podcast or something with chiropractors, and it was talking about how this patient came in and they were about to head in for surgery, and they wanted to do chiropractic in conjunction with what they, maybe to help prevent the surgery, but their spine or one of their joints, I think it was a hip joint, was so far gone by the time they made it to a chiropractic office. So they ended up having to go in to have surgery and do the thing. But they then came back to care, which everybody really should stay under care no matter what. However, they came back to care, not for the original reason they came in, which was that hip pain or low back pain or whatever it was. But they came back because they realized once they started to get adjusted, everyone in their lives were realizing their attitude was better, their communication was better, their stress level was less, and they were just plain happier. So I talk, and especially the new patients this week, it's like, I don't have a button to push on and push off this pain. If it was that simple, this would be, our whole world would be so much simpler. It's just not how the body works. So, but what we are doing is taking those stress hormones and decreasing them in the body, which then has ramifications on the choices and how we eat, move, sleep, all the movements. But it also has major ramifications. When we have that joy and happiness in our life, that's coming from the inside. They were like literally feeling their sunshine being turned on from the inside, even though they still had to go in for whatever they had to go in for. That sunshine from the inside, that is the innate intelligence turning on full of bright. And that is really where true health comes from.
Yeah, and
I,
we talk about vagal tone all the time, that we allow people through the chiropractic adjustment, it allows people to go into rest, digest, and repair and come out of that chronic fight or flight state. Like you can't have sound thoughts and relationships and health. We could go down the line when you're in a constant state of fight or flight and stress. So it is critical that you take those steps to move back into good vagal tone, so good rest, digest, and repair. And the longer you stay in fight or flight, the more damage you get to your cells, your chemistry, the biochemistry in your body, the more inflammation you have, the more you're prone to diabetes, because stress actually increases blood sugar. It changes the gut microbiome. And when the gut microbiome gets thrown off, it affects your brain. So there's a whole circle of life that happens when you're in a chronic state of fight or flight. But then when you go into parasympathetic rest, digest, and repair, there's a whole circle of life that takes place, that is healing, that is health promoting, that is calming, that is your digestion improves, your blood sugar can get balanced, your brain feels better. So you pick which circle of life you want to be a part of, the positive one or the negative one. And it's critical that, it doesn't mean you're not going to have, like I say, bad days or variances of good days. I always have varying shades of great in my days. But the whole point is that you have to recognize when you're in a moment of stress, and even just a deep breath can help to pull you out of that. And so it's the choice. Are you going to allow yourself to stay there, or are you going to say, ooh, I need a deep breath? Because you can't figure out a problem with a cluttered mind. So right. Calm your state of mind so you can then be able to troubleshoot it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the stories just go on and on all day. And right now, especially, I think with, we're in the middle of winter, we've made it through January, but we got a little bit of time ahead of us here in Michigan. And literally everybody around us could be, and a good portion of them are in kind of that doom and gloom, and there's no healing, there's no vitalized energy there. And so we have to figure out ways to create that on our own. And we always talk about the brain communicating with the body through the information superhighway. And that's where chiropractic adjustments can not only help the body to heal, but also just like feel better, be a little bit on the high side of life, be in a little bit of like our own internal sunshine. And so, we just see it all day long, and people are like, I just love being here. And I said, this is the greatest career ever, because we're just adding light and life to people's lives every single week, every single day. And we get to be, we're one of their favorite places to be every week or every other week, however they're doing their care. So it was
say we're changing their life. That's huge when people finally recognize that.
Yeah. Right?
So not just the light inside of them, but the light bulb that goes off inside of them.
I saw this. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, and then just the ability to then reprioritize, because the priorities that people have made have taken them down a sick path, or, the unknowing that chiropractic and wellness and holistic healthcare even exists or is an option. So now they can prioritize. And I always tell people too, like if they have health savings accounts, because they're like, oh, I didn't fund it because I never use it, but I never go to the doctor either. And that's when I'm like, well, then maybe that's something you should fund it, because you put pre-tax dollars in. You can pay for things like chiropractic, the dentist, acupuncture, massage therapy. You can now you can fund your health savings account, which typically, going back to what we were talking about earlier, like these high deductibles, if you have a high deductible policy, a lot of companies are now offering that. And so, yes, a lot of companies are recognizing we probably should maybe commit to our clients and our employees' actual state of wellness. So that's really nice, because your insurance policy isn't often going to pay for acupuncture, massage therapy, sometimes even chiropractic, dental. I mean, some of the benefits are so limited by your insurance policy. Notice I'm not calling it your healthcare policy. And that if you can utilize these other funds that you're being incentivized to use, then why not use them? Fund that account, pre-tax dollars, utilize it on health and wellness for you and your family. And now you can start to see the benefits of, oh, somebody's actually incentivizing you to do something. And now it's up to you to then prioritize which choices you want to make and how for your family.
Yeah, so true. And so some people don't really, I mean, a lot of people would know what you mean when you say pre-tax dollars, but some people wouldn't really realize that that gives you up to like a 30% discount on care. Just meaning like the dollars, that are taxable, they're going to be, your taxes are taking out of that. But this goes in prior to that. So it really does end up being quite beneficial when we talk about the real cost of healthcare. Like that's one of the greatest ways to be able to fund your true health,
Yeah. And I mean, if you take your salary, your pre-tax dollars, let's just say it's $100,000. And then let's say a family of four, you've got $10,000. And I don't know if there's a max, but we'll just, for even numbers, you put $10,000 into your health savings account and you're utilizing that for the things that I mentioned earlier. Now your taxable income is only $90,000. So you've just, you've saved yourself several $1,000s in tax money. I mean, if it's like you said, if it's 35% tax bracket, it can be really, really beneficial. So yeah, they don't tax your money before they go in there, and then you only pay taxes on what's left over. So
yeah, so
it's a great point.
A lot of people understand it, and some people don't, and some people it's a new concept too. And so, just kind of taking advantage of some of the ways that you can promote your health on the front side, instead of raging around in reactive care, being reactionary.
Well, and even just the choice of water. And, every time I go do a talk, my last two talks, one was on stress for busy professionals. The other one was on beating the winter blues. And hydration has to be in there. Hydration all the time. And, how many people say, I don't like water? And I'm like, I don't care. And that's so. When we whittle it down, this is one of these conversations I have in my head or privately with Dr. Erica, is that when somebody says something like that to us, there's something inside of me. I will take a strong parental hand and just say, I don't care. You're made of water, and this is how your body's going to heal. Mm-hmm. And then if there's continued pushback, and then they'll come in each and every time and they'll say, oh, I'm still in pain. I'm not sleeping well. Have you increased your hydration? Well, no. Okay, stop lying to yourself. Like that's where my heavy hand comes in, is now you're lying to yourself. You're not willing to do the simplest and cheapest thing that you can possibly do to improve your health. So what else aren't you willing to do? So you really have to ask yourself, and that's what we're trying to do, is just bring the simplest of things, and then you can build upon them. So we really want you to do the simplest of things. So you have those building blocks for your health. And it's a lot easier to troubleshoot for us when you finally come to see us of why you still have migraine headaches, or why you're still having gut issues or sleep, whatever it is. If you're well hydrated, we're like, okay, check. That's literally going to be the first question we ask you. So start drinking your water before you come and see us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people say we talk water all day long, and I have for, going on 20 years and just a couple of weeks from now. And But people always say to me at least once a week, and I know we've mentioned it here before, where it's like, you just literally sit on my shoulder all day. And when I have water in front of me, like, you're also there. And I said, I'm like, good, because it's better than one of the commercials that you listened to last night telling you how your body isn't capable of taking care of whatever it is. And it's better. I'm glad that that's happening and has been happening for people, that we sit on their shoulders as they're going through their days and help them to make a little bit better choices. Yeah, it's so interesting to me too. I got on the phone with a patient. I have a patient who's in the hospital right now, and it's actually pretty kind of a gnarly situation. And anyway, she's like, okay, so, I got this and I got that. And I'm watching my neighbor, eat a bunch of junk, and her family and friends like sneaking her in a bunch of junk. And she said, so I don't have a lot of good options here. But the one thing is I have tropical, she's basically relying on her kids and some friends to bring some things up. And I said, listen, she said, I have Tropical Smoothie Cafe. So mostly what I'm having is like banana and peanut butter and yogurt, I think, is the smoothie. And I said, well, let's go ahead and take like the peanut butter, and is there protein powder or whatever? Like, if you're at bare minimums and you can't get your own stuff, then at least take the banana out of there, so your sugar isn't also spiking each time you have it. But then have like the good proteins and at least some fats in there. And then I said, ask them for vitamin C. Can they give you vitamin C while you're there? And she's been there for quite a few days now. And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, I think if we're trying to battle something in the hospital, they should have vitamin C on hand. And I said, I'd like you to figure out how to take 1,000 5 times a day. So spread it out. And this is the least you can do for your body right now. At least get C on board. And I said, here's my cell phone number. If I have to smuggle vitamin C into, I said, check with the doctors that are tending to you. Can you take it? But, because I'm not going to override something that's going on in the hospital. But I'm like, I will sneak you in some energy for the body to at least start to use to your benefit, in your favor. And if that's what it takes, I mean, here's my cell phone. Just let me know. I'm around this weekend. Hopefully you're out of there. But in the meantime, if you can at least ask them if you can have that. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. And this isn't a patient that necessarily thought that she going in to get something tended to was going to be this way. But ultimately we just find ourselves not all of a sudden it's built, but just, now all of a sudden symptoms have hit a threshold that's gone too far.
Yeah, and that whole issue of supplementation in the hospital, I don't know why that's not standard of care.
Totally.
Standard of care when you go to the hospital is to give you heparin or warfarin, which is a blood thinner, straight out of the gate, because they're like, oh, well, if you're going to be laying in a hospital bed, we don't want you to get a blood clot. So I'm like, yeah. And, this happened to me a few years ago. I was having some back pain from come to find out, some cysts in my kidney. And I'm like, get away from me with that heparin. You're not giving that to me. Like, the least narcotic painkiller you can get. Like, I was walking on a walker. The pain was so bad. But the whole point was I kept asking, I'm like, listen, I need vitamin D. I need a probiotic. I need some vitamin C. Like, I was asking for those things. And it took them like a whole day and a half. I was in the hospital for 4 days. It took them a day and a half to finally get it approved, find it. I'm like, what do you mean find it? And they wouldn't, like, somebody snuck in my supplements and then they saw me and they're like, you can't do that. And yeah, so I got shut down trying to take my own supplements that I'd been taking for years. And it's just, to me, it's like standard of care.
Standard.
Take care of the basic building blocks for the human body when people are sick.
Yeah, we should definitely have. And I told her, well, they did say, or she did say that she does have a probiotic on board. And, I'm kind of curious what it is, but grateful that it's there. And then also,
at that point, beggars can't be choosers, right?
No, I mean, I'm just grateful that it's even on their standard protocol for what's going on. But then it's like, you need C and D, and then, the other, I would definitely have, cod liver oil and all that too on board. But in the meantime, it's like those two inside of any health arena whatsoever, because once you're in there, or medical facility, once you're in there, like the goal is you got to get out of there because there's so much other stuff in there too. So anyway,
When
it's
you're
just,
in there, if you ever have the opportunity as a healthy person to end up in the hospital, you realize why so many people die in the hospital. Like that, it is just, you get
yeah.
ignored.
Yeah,
You,
I don't wanna give any of that energy to the
yeah,
specific,
it's
but
like,
yeah, no,
no,
I mean, it's
no.
just get
So
in. If you have
stay
to go,
out.
if you have to go, get in, but then get out
Yep.
ASAP. And I really believe that, the immune support that could be offered by the simple, I mean, for goodness sakes, like, get her the powder emergence, get her
I mean, even the
some.
crappiest
I
supplement would
wouldn't
be
take
better.
that, but
Yeah.
the
If I'm
crappy,
in the hospital and that's all they offer me, I'm
yeah.
I'm taking it, right? I'm
Give me
like,
a Flintstone vitamin.
right.
Give
So
me I would take that before I would sit there with nothing.
you can see our priorities, right? If you're like, if that's all you have, just
Yes,
freaking take it, you know?
yes,
That
for
is so
sure.
funny. Well, and of course, like fish oil, if we just talk about fish oil and its ability to help with inflammation and help to decrease pain, and it helps with brain health and nerve health and gut health, and it's really so magical because it's full of omega 3s, which are anti-inflammatory. And
Right.
our standard American diet is about 20-to-1 omega 6 inflammatory fats to omega 3 anti-inflammatory fats. And so we have to tip that scale. So the more we're in that inflammatory state, the more we're actually putting into the bank of sickness.
Mhm.
And so again, just going back to the hospital example, why would they, instead of giving you heparin or warfarin or a blood thinner, why wouldn't they give you fish oil? Because fish
Oh,
oil actually helps with blood viscosity. In fact, it's used for lipid issues. It's actually used for blood thinning in other countries versus here we use all of these nasty drugs that have all these crazy side effects when we could use something a little more natural,
and
but
even if we
can't
had to do,
monetize it.
yeah, even if we had to, be on some sort of something, like, it also should be, and no matter what, it should be. And if this were a situation, knock on wood, that happened to me, I would be like, Dr. Paula, whatever you got,
Sneak it
get your
in.
butt up, just sneak it in. I used to do that
I
too
come in
for,
with my backpack and my hoodie
yeah.
on and
Well, I used to do that. So I used to do that for pregnant moms.
yeah.
So there's places and spaces inside, and it's less and less. We're more and more able to come in. Even I would just show up. Hey, my good friend's having a baby, and they're my patient, but they're like stuck
Here, let
in
me look into your eyes.
dystocia. Yeah, they're stuck in dystocia where they're not like progressing through their labor and delivery. And I always say, take my cell phone number, and if I can get to you, I will. And I used to do it a lot. And now the moms, well, I have almost not all of the moms, but most of the moms that come into my practice these days have already had a baby, or they've already found a midwife, or they found a midwife group, or they found a birthing center, or any and all of these things. They've had their first baby at the hospital and they don't want to have that situation again, and they didn't know going in. And so, but anyway, it used to be even more that I would be sneaking in to just, I mean, why, if we are the ones tending to these moms all through their 9 months of pregnancy, we should be right there at the foot of the bed. That is my strong belief. We should be right there bedside with them
Mhm.
at the same time. And so fortunately, now they know, most of my pregnant moms know, stay home as long as you can. And as soon as labor starts, come get adjusted. If you're surging while you're on the table, we'll just hands off for a second. We'll let your body do what it's going to do with the contraction, and then we'll go back to adjusting, and then you can get in your car and go wherever you need to go back home. I actually had, it's funny because this one woman, she was risked out of having a home birth on her fourth baby, and she was risked out, I think even for age. And then it was like, well, I didn't make it to the hospital fast enough, so they had me
Whoopsie.
whoopsie daisy. So, whoops, I didn't mean for that to happen necessarily, but and it was, you know, it was safe, and it was actually did end up coming so quickly that it was completely unattended. Only her husband was there, and that isn't. I'm not advocating for that necessarily, but yeah, it was like your wrist out of doing what you want to do, only to end up doing exactly what you wanted to do in the first place. So just continually, you know, we'll go back to the real cost of healthcare is just continually realizing you are your best advocate. Your dollars can be spent towards creating real health. Um, and the questions should continually be asked. This patient on, you know, in the hospital, just ask them. Ask them if you don't have vitamin C.
Yeah.
If they give it to you, great. If not, I'll bring it to you. Can you take that? Ask the questions. Keep asking.
And I do want to address Devil Dog your question. Yes, that's correct. We cannot give medical advice and gabapentin for head pains. This is what I tell my patients is that I don't live inside your body. So again, we're talking here, you know, we're talking about health, wellness, the real cost of healthcare, trying to optimize longevity. However, we don't live inside of your body, and that we do understand that sometimes, like this patient that Dr. Erica is talking about, sometimes people end up in crisis, and that is a situation where no one's going to fault you for doing what you feel is right for you. And you know, frankly, I go back to that when I was in the hospital with the kidney pain, and they wanted to give me Vicodin, and I said no. I had taken it for a broken hand and it messed me up for days. And they gave me Valium. And when they put that Valium into me, I was like, oh my God, this is heaven. Like it was, which is also the same thing that I felt when I got the epidural when I had my baby, because I was going, oh, natural. And I'd been in labor for 4 days. And finally I'm like, give me the freaking epidural. And it was like, oh,
yeah,
praise Jesus.
There's a time and space for all of it. We just really, instead of taking a fire hose and fire hosing down your entire house just in case, like let's start to really like take the steps forward. Let's not fire hose down our bodies. Like let's take some steps forward to build that the internal the vibes inside, you know, the internal sunshine and your innate intelligence, which is on the job no matter what.
On the job no matter what. Just, do you want to make your innate intelligence happy or not so happy, right? So I think that's probably a good place to
wrap it up
for the day. So thank you guys so much. I will make my best effort to remember to actually stream from our new channel. we were like, we built all up to that, and now like wah wah wah, but that's okay. Or you know, it is what it is. So but we thank everybody so much for being here. Again, without you, this channel would not grow and we would not have the eyes on it that we do. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for your comments. Please be sure you are subscribing to both of our channels, as well as the Chiropractic Kind, as to share this out to others who, you know, who could hear this message of health and wellness and health optimization. We would just forever be indebted to you. So thanks so much for being here, you guys. See you next week.